Hi there guys, it's Tim from Advanced In Car Technologies again, and today we're going to be reviewing the Roadhawk HD, unboxing it, showing you some example footage, how the software works, and basically just going over why this is becoming one of the most popular in-car camera systems or dash cam systems out there at the moment, just because it's got some really cool features that other cameras such as the Black View or cameras like that are coming out of China and South Korea don't actually feature. So let's get straight into it. So this is the Roadhawk HD. Comes in quite a nice little box, goes into some details about what the camera can actually do, and the good thing is that you can see here is that it has an external GPS antenna, which quite a lot of them out there don't actually do, which is really good if you've got a car, say like the brand new Range Rover Sport, that's got heated lines in the windscreen and it can't get that GPS signal out, so that's pretty good. A good, nice, well-built box does well. Let's just get it open and see what it says. Okay. Alright, okie dokie. So, the camera itself comes in a polythene sort of bag to keep it protected. It's kind of like one of those anti-static bags that computer components come into. And let's just pull it out. Right. Okay, so the first thing is that this isn't the normal sort of shape for a dash cam. It's quite flat, it's long, whereas we're used to the kind of the round cylindrical cameras from My Witness and Blackview and DOD and all those kind of things. But yeah, no, it looks a pretty good camera, but what we'll do is we'll go into that in a minute and see what else comes in the box. So nice polythene bag to keep it in. The user manual. They've actually put quite a bit of effort into this. It looks nice, well presented, and the good thing is there's a lot of English language in this, whereas usually with the Blackviews, when we did our last review, there was probably about 2 pages of English literature about how the camera works and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, let's just go on with this. Okay, well my light keeps deciding it wants to fall over, so we'll keep that off for the moment. Right. Okay. Right, so here's the software. Roadhawk HD. Oh, it's Windows and Mac compatible, which is good. That's what quite a lot of people out there want, is they want the ability to be able to either use it on their PC or a Mac. Blackview were a bit behind the times with the Mac software. They didn't really get it out on time, but Roadhawk seemed to have sorted things out quite nicely. So let's move the box out of the way. So this is the accessory pack, so let's have a look. So inside we're getting a standard 8GB class 10 normal size SD card. We've got a couple of mounts in here. Let's open these up. Okay, so this is the first sort of mount. I'm not really sure just yet how this one's going to work, because obviously that's the screen going to be there, and well, we'll see later. The next mount. Okay, so this looks like a bit more useful, so that it's going to go on the screen like that, and then the camera is going to lock into place like that. Right, okay, now I understand. And let's just see if we can try it with this one. So it's like that. Let's just see. Okay, so I'm guessing it's just depending on where you want to mount it and all that kind of stuff. Okay, cool, right. Let's just move some of these bags out of the way, keep everything nice and tidy. Right, normal sort of cable type things to keep it tidy. The cigarette plug is pretty normal. It's just your normal standard kind of cigar jack. And this is the external GPS. Now, in terms of external GPSs go, it's quite a big antenna, which I guess if it's being hidden behind the scenes and it's being routed somewhere where you're not going to see it, it doesn't really matter. Coax cable looks pretty nice, nice and thick, so hopefully it's got some good shielding on there, because you don't want any interruptions with like DAB and that sort of thing, which we've seen with the Blackview DR550 model. So right, let's have a look at this. What is this? Okay, so this is an SD card reader in the shape of like a thumb drive. Pretty useful stuff, especially if you don't have an SD card reader on your PC or Mac, but most do kind of now. But nicely built, doesn't look too Chinesey, which is always good. Right, so let's have a look. Let's put some of this away. And we can go over some of the features of this camera. Right, so first off, like I said earlier, that it's a pretty slim unit, which is quite nice. It's all black, which they're doing pretty well with, because you obviously, when this is in the car and you're keeping it parked up, you don't really want people to know what you've got that is there recording, really. Okay, so we've got our front lens there, which allows you to go up to 1080p high definition. I think it was something like 60 frames per second. I could be wrong there, but I know that this is kind of the iPhone of the dashcam world. It's not as popular as other cameras such as Blackview out there, but it has a real good punch to it, and it has features that other cameras haven't even taken on board yet. So we've got other things that you can do, like as earlier, it uses a full-size SD card, which is good, because then you can start using cards up to 64 gigabytes natively, and there's not really many cameras out there that do that. And the good thing is, as well, is it's compatible with SDXC cards, so you can get that really crisp footage. You know that the SD card's not going to impact you at all when it comes to footage. Now, as we're here anyway, we've got this little button, which hopefully you can see. It says E on it, and basically, if you're driving down the road and something happens and you want to make sure that the camera doesn't overwrite that file, you just tap the button, and I think it does a series of beeps. Then it locks that file away for when you want to see it later, so that if you're doing a really long journey, then it's not going to overwrite itself. Okay, so we've got our record and GPS lights there. We've got what looks like to be the microphone just here, a nice big speaker port there, and over here we have our power in, which is where our jack's going to go in later. This is the external GPS socket, so that is, again, if you've got a car that's got heated windscreens, it's not going to be a really big deal, because you can just plug that in, nicely locate that GPS antenna, and you're not going to lose any functionality. Now, the really cool thing about this as well is if you're really concerned about audio quality, and as you can see, the mic input there is quite small, so the quality is not going to be as amazing as you'd want it to be. It does have the mic in. Now, I don't know of any other camera out there that offers this mic in feature, so we're winning so far. The weird sort of shape is kind of making up in the fact that it's got some pretty cool features to go with at the moment. Now, the good thing with this camera is, like the other ones, it's got the gyro based system, so that if you, in the event of an accident, you can, or if you want to see the events or something like that, then you're going to be able to see that through the kind of like the bars that you've seen probably on Blackview systems and like the other videos that I've shown you in the past. So we're promised by Roadhawk that this quality of footage that's going to be coming out is going to be pretty crisp, because it's using the latest A5 processor, which is the normal H.264 encoding, and I'm really excited about putting this in the car, getting some test footage, and just really seeing it for my eyes, because I've only ever seen YouTube videos of the footage, not anything that's raw straight from the camera. So we're looking good. Right, so let's have a look what else we've got going. So we've gone over quite a bit of the kind of like the features and all that kind of stuff. So there isn't really much to say else about the camera, apart from really we need to get the camera into the car, get some footage up, then show you what it's like, and also go over some of the software features, which we can do that later on. Well, you'll see it later on in the video today, and I'll go over some of the other features of the camera and all that kind of stuff. Right, so just quickly looking through the manual, yeah, the frame rate is between 30 frames per second or 60 frames per second. Now, that's going to give you some really, really quality, smooth video. But obviously you've got to counteract that with, if you're recording at 1080p and at 60 frames per second, it's going to chew that memory card up quite quickly. So it's always best, if you're going to have a camera or a dash cam like this, you're going to want to whack in a 64 gig card. I know that you can do things like with the Black Fuse, and you can change the firmware so that it does it and all that kind of stuff, but why should you have to go for the hassle of this? Roadhawk have been pretty clever. They've kind of looked at the marketplace, they've seen what else is out there, and then they've just improved on it. And I think this is going to be a real winner in my eyes. Right, so before we get it in the car, I just wanted to see what the connections were like with the Roadhawk HD, because with the Black Fuse, some of the connections have always been a bit weird in that they don't go in very nicely. And the DR550, people out there have had problems with getting the AV cable in. So let's just see what the Roadhawk is. Normally I would power it up and show you all the sorts of the lights. With the Blackview reviews, I've done that because then I could show you how the Wi-Fi works on it. This camera doesn't come with Wi-Fi, but I don't think that's really a big deal because I've got a Blackview in my current car, and whenever I want to look at the footage, I just take the card out of the camera, plug it in my Mac, and away I go. The transfer rates aren't fast enough to do what I want to do. So let's have a look here. Let's just see what that's like. Right, so that's quite a nice soft plug-in. Feels pretty firm. Let's try the power lead, the cigar jack. I'm not going to undo it all yet, so let's just see what it's like. Right, so if we picture this in the car, okay, the GPS antenna, it could have a right angle connection, because trying to hide, from an installer's point of view, this is quite difficult to do anything with, because you just have to accept that it's got to come out and then go up and hide somewhere, because you don't really want to bend it too much at the end, because you don't want to damage the coax inside. The powering cable's perfect, it's nice, it's right angled, it's slim, and it's going to keep everything nice and tidy. And just quickly, I've also just noticed that it's got this tripod 1/4 inch screw thread, so this means that it's not limited by this mount, which is awesome. So I think what we need to do is, like I said, I'm not going to power it up because it's just going to bleep and say it's recording and all that kind of stuff and just record. I can't show you any of the features until I've got the footage in the car, driving around, and then we can go over some of the footage on the computer. Okay, next footage you'll see is going to be the Roadhawk recording in the car. Thank you. Right, so we've got the camera in the car, and as you can tell, the weather isn't the best that's possible. Unfortunately, in the UK here, the weather has been pretty bad. It's been a very rare day where it's not been raining or it's been dull or grey, but sometimes it's good to test out these cameras to see how they perform in the really adverse conditions. Now, you're also going to notice that the video timestamp in the bottom is saying from November last year. Well, we've had a pretty hectic few weeks, months, especially with Christmas. We've moved offices, so we didn't really get this video out in time like we would really want to. So we're going to go over, as we're watching the footage, I'm going to go over some of the features, explain how the camera's working, and all that sort of stuff. So let's just get straight on with it. So as I mentioned before in the review part of the camera, I've got this installed in my car. It's running side by side with a Blackview, so that there is a video that I've already put up of a comparison side by side. So if you want to watch that, go straight ahead. So as the car's pulling away, keep an eye on what it's doing, but also listen to a few pointers that I've got. So going back to what I was saying before, is that this camera currently at the moment is recording at 1080p at 30 frames per second, and I've set the bit rate to about 12 megabytes per second, because in the Roadhawk software
that's what you can do, is you can change the bit rates depending on really the card size that you're going to put it. I would always recommend, if you want the best quality, always set it to the highest resolution. 30 frames per second is good enough, but ramp up that bit rate. The camera is designed to run at this rate, unlike other cameras where they've been hacked to run at this rate, and sometimes you have heat issues. Whilst this camera was recording, I didn't have any issues whatsoever. So just quickly, as I'm pulling into this roundabout here, you can see that the quality is actually pretty crisp. You can see the reg plates when you're going past the cars, which is obviously really important in case they have an incident and that sort of thing. Now, the weather is pretty bad. I remember driving this and the rain was absolutely hammering it down, and it just wasn't very nice conditions to be driving in. But I think the Roadhawk is doing pretty well considering. Now, the first thing I want to say is about reflections, is that on quite a few of the cameras, especially Blackview and other Korean models like that, is you have the real issue with reflections. Now you can see my mobile phone that's on the dash just there a little bit, and a bit of the air vent system, but it's not really crazy. I mean, it could be different in the daytime, but let's just roll with it and see how we're doing it. Now, I did mention about the camera offering 60 frames per second, but if you want it at that frame rate, you need to drop down to 720, which is all in the settings of the software. You can do it either through PC or through the Mac. The firing up of the GPS on this camera, it took a couple of minutes from when I first plugged it in, because it has to acquire those satellites, but usually after that point it doesn't take very long at all. It's only with the cars that have got the heated windscreens and all that kind of stuff where you really need to use that external GPS. And if you do decide that you want to use the external GPS, then that's going to really speed up the rate that camera can pick up the satellites to tell you where you're going. Now, as mentioned before, it's using the A5 processor, which means it's getting some quality footage coming into the camera, almost GoPro style, really. I mean, I own a GoPro, and looking at the quality of this and doing the same sort of settings, we're pretty close to what that's going on. As before, it's got the loop mode, and that all important special button that very few cameras don't have. That if you do have an accident, then or something happens, or road rage, or crash for crash, something like that you want to keep on record, you just push that E button and it will lock that file away, so you can carry on with your journey and not have to worry about ripping the card out to keep it and such and such. So the camera so far, as we've been driving along, the footage has been pretty superior compared to what the Blackview is, and now I've highly recommend that you go and watch the comparison between this footage and the one with the Blackview, because it will really show you who is doing better. So what we're going to do now is we're going to pop back into the office, we're going to go over the software and show you how to change some of the settings. Right then, so we're back in the office, we've opened up the Roadhawk HD settings, we've got the card in, but unfortunately, technology being technology, my screen recorder decided it doesn't want to work properly with the Roadhawk system. So what I've done is I've taken a screenshot, because I really wanted to show you how you change things and do things and how the software looks. So here is just a screenshot. I'm going to go over some of the features, and then we can wrap things up for you guys. So like most kind of players like Blackview and things like that, you've got your normal view screen here, which you can expand, you can do whatever you want with. It lets you view the footage back. Now, behind this settings page, you get your normal file list, that's all nicely structured, and you also get the mapping, I think it's Google Mapping, so that you can see your car moving along the roads that you were driving and that the video relates to. So we've got the normal speedo here that shows you how fast you're going, and then this is how your car is moving whilst on the road, if you're doing any sharp turns, left, right, harsh braking, harsh accelerating, that sort of thing. Pretty generic stuff across most of the players. Now, the really good thing about the Roadhawk is the settings. There's a lot more customizable features that you get with Roadhawk that you don't get with other cameras. So the first one being that you can change the resolution from, I think it's about 640 all the way up to 1080. Now, if you go for 720, you can hit the frame rate at 60 frames per second. So you're still getting that HD quality, but you're getting that really, really nice, crisp rating. So, footage. It's going to be nice and smooth, and it's going to look quite nice. Of course, most people like to record at 1080, and you can again record at 30 frames per second with that one. So the footage is still going to look really good. So we move on a little bit. So the time zone GMT, that's pretty standard stuff. The file lengths that you can go for are from like a minute to about 5 minutes. Now I can't remember exactly, but one of them doesn't allow you to record at a certain frame rate. I think if you go above 5-minute frame rate file length, then you can't do the 720 at 60 frames per second. Now correct me if I'm wrong, I could be wrong, but that's just what I can remember from when I last had a play with it. Loop mode, I would always put this on. You've got the emergency button on the camera itself, so if you do have an issue, then you just hit that button, it's going to lock that file away, and it's going to keep it nice and safe so you can carry on with your journey. If you have it off and your memory card fills up, I mean, a 64GB card recording at 1080, you're probably going to get around the 8 to 10 hour mark, depending on what bitrate you're setting it on. Now, for most people, that's more than long enough for a decent journey, but you may as well keep it to loop. You're not going to lose anything. Mic sensitivity. Now, dash cams have never really been renowned for their quality in terms of the microphones on them, because they're really small pieces of tech, so you can't really expect them to have amazing crystal HD sound quality. But again, with the Roadhawk HD, you do have that advantage of putting in an external mic, say like a parrot microphone, something like that. That's going to be nice if you're really concerned about the voice aspect. It could be good for if you're having it in a truck, or you're in a taxi firm, or if you have a fleet vehicle, you want to make sure that you can hear what is happening at the time of the incident, especially if you've had a crash. If the driver was on the mobile phone or talking to a passenger, was distracted, all that kind of stuff. It's also really good for shouting, for saying what's happened if you have an accident. Like if you want to be 100% clear that you've got that registration number, you can just shout it out and the camera will pick it up. So speaker volume, I normally always have mine quite low, because it's nice to have it there, but you don't want it shouting out commands and beeping lots and lots and it becoming a distraction. So keep that low, I would say, but whatever's your best. Event sensitivity. So now this is where, depending on how the car moves, so if it's sudden braking or movement from left to right, X, Y, and all that kind of stuff, this is where it will go from normal record mode to event record, so it will be easier to find those events in your file settings. I've never really bothered with it with my dash cams, because I just watch all the footage if I need to. Now, the next three things is contrast, brightness, and saturation. This is quite a different thing. We don't really see this on many dash cams. They don't give you that flexibility. It's either you choose your resolution, you change your frame rate, and that's it. You don't get anything else like this. Now, contrast, brightness, and saturation, depending on where you live in the world, or what your driving is going to be like, if you're going to be doing it at night or daytime, it might be worth having a play around with these to see if you get the best quality footage that you can. I think it's a really smart move by Roadhawk to give the user the chance to change these kinds of settings. Now, bitrate, I would always just hit it at 12. The camera is designed to work at 12, especially with a 64GB card availability. You can make sure that you're getting the best quality footage that camera goes back. Going back to the footage that I recorded in the car, now that was running at 12 megabytes per second, and with Blackview especially, they had real issues with the DR500 where they didn't give, I think it was 8 megabytes per second. The DR550 was even lower at 6. Now the Russians have then come along and changed and hacked the firmware to give you at least 12 and above. Now 12 is about the right sort of bit rate to be recording at, because any higher, okay, you're going to be getting the good quality picture, but it's going to be really taxing that camera to perform really hard, really good quality pictures, and sometimes that can cause the camera to heat up, it can cause issues and all that sort of stuff. So record mode, event and normal, pretty standard stuff. So we've got the spot metering and the timestamp stuff down here, pretty standard stuff. I would always just keep the timestamp on, because if you do need to use it as evidence, that kind of thing, then at least then you can prove what's going on and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, this has been the Roadhawk HD. Is available from our website, which is www.advanced-incar.co.uk. We do a lot of reviews. We do a lot of retrofits on products that we're doing that are pretty new into the market. We've got a couple of new Blackview cameras to do a review on. We've got some other cameras coming in from China and South Korea that they've asked us to review, so we'll be doing that. So it really is worthwhile making sure you hit that subscribe button in the corner of the video, just so that you can make sure that you're staying up to date with all the latest dashcam news, reviews, and all that kind of stuff. So thanks very much.